My mom screamed, "Your son took the missing $10,000 from the safe." I dropped the security footage on the table. 5 minutes later, my sister's husband went pale. Family drama has never been new to me, but this one still managed to leave me shaking. I'm 36F, a single mom to a 14-year-old boy named Ethan. He's a quiet, respectful kid. I've raised him to value honesty because I've had to fight against lies my entire life, especially from my family. My parents were the type who thought my older sister, Amanda, 39F, was made of gold. She could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was the difficult one, the one who didn't follow the family's unwritten rules, who moved out early, who didn't marry someone successful enough. Still, I tried to keep peace for Ethan's sake. He adored his grandparents, and I wanted him to have that connection. That's how we ended up at my parents' house last Sunday, and how everything fell apart. The accusation. We were having lunch when my mom suddenly slammed her fork down. "Where's the money?" she hissed at my dad. "I put it in the safe, $10,000, and now it's gone." Everyone froze. My dad's face went pale. Amanda looked shocked for exactly 3 seconds before turning toward me. Then my mom screamed, "Your son took it." At first, I thought I misheard. I blinked. "What?" She stood up, shaking with anger. "The safe is in the study. I saw Ethan near it yesterday." Amanda said she saw him too. Amanda crossed her arms dramatically. "We did see him. He was hanging around the study while we were in the living room." Ethan looked horrified. I wasn't near the safe. I was charging my phone in the hallway. But the damage was done. My parents glared at me like I was raising a thief. My sister's husband, Mark, muttered under his breath, "Kids these days have no respect." I felt my pulse in my ears. "You're accusing my son of stealing $10,000? I asked, trying to keep calm. Mom's lips tightened. "If he didn't, then who did?" The calm before the storm. Ethan started tearing up. He looked at me, terrified. "Mom, I didn't." "I know," I said, squeezing his hand. "Don't worry. Because I had a secret. I had installed a small camera in the study last month. My parents have housekeepers, and Mom asked me to set up a security system after some jewelry went missing. I never turned it off. So, I took a deep breath and said quietly, 'Mom, maybe we should look at the footage.' She frowned. 'What footage?' I pulled a small flash drive from my bag and set it on the table. "That one." Amanda's expression twitched. Mark went stiff. My dad looked confused. "Let's see who really opened that safe," I said calmly. Then I took out my laptop, plugged in the flash drive, and opened the file. The moment of truth. The room was dead silent as the video started. The timestamp showed Friday night, 2 days earlier. The study was empty for a while, until Mark appeared. He walked in, looked around, and crouched in front of the safe. He entered the code, the same code only my parents and Amanda were supposed to know, and started taking stacks of bills from inside. Mom gasped so loudly it echoed. Amanda's face turned chalk white. Mark froze where he stood. The footage showed him stuffing the cash into a small duffel bag, glancing nervously toward the door, and leaving quickly. When the video ended, no one spoke for at least 10 seconds. Then I said softly, "Would anyone like to keep accusing my son?" The fallout. Mom's eyes were wide. "Mark, how did you know the code?" Mark stuttered, I just, Amanda told me. She said I could borrow some." "What?" Amanda shouted. "No, I didn't." They started yelling at each other while my dad just buried his face in his hands. Ethan was still sitting next to me, clutching my sleeve. He whispered, "Can we go home?" I stood up, picking up my bag and the flash drive. "Yes, sweetheart. We're done here. As I turned to leave, my mom called out weakly, "I'm sorry, honey. I shouldn't have." I stopped at the door. "You accused a child before even asking for proof. I'll send you the footage. After that, don't contact me until you've figured out how to apologize properly, to both of us." Then I walked out. The aftermath. 2 days later, Amanda called me crying. She said Mark admitted to taking the money to pay off a few debts and promised to return it. He moved out that same night. My parents have been begging to see Ethan and me again, saying they made a mistake. But Ethan told me, "I don't want to go back there, Mom." They didn't believe me. And you know what? He's right. Family doesn't accuse you when things go missing. Family doesn't point fingers at a scared kid. Family doesn't wait for proof to show compassion. So, for now, I'm keeping my distance. The only thing that truly went missing that day wasn't $10,000, it was my trust. It's been 2 weeks since I dropped that flash drive on my parents' dining table, 2 weeks since the lie that almost destroyed my son's reputation shattered into the truth. I thought things would finally calm down. I was wrong. Because last night, around 8 p.m., someone rang my doorbell. When I opened it, Amanda was standing there, hair messy, eyes red and swollen, holding a half-empty coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping her alive. "Can we talk?" she whispered. The visit. For a moment, I just stared at her. I hadn't heard from her since that day. Mom had called me 3 times, apologizing in that guilty but still defensive tone she's famous for. But Amanda? Nothing. "Please," she said again. "It's about Mark." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She sat at my kitchen table like a ghost, eyes darting everywhere but at me. I poured her some tea and waited. Finally, she spoke. "Mark's gone. For good." "I figured," I said flatly. "He stole from our parents, embarrassed the whole family, and blamed my kid. Not exactly husband of the year behavior." She flinched. "You're right. But there's more to it." I crossed my arms. "I'm listening." The confession. Amanda took a shaky breath. "Mark didn't just steal the money. He was being blackmailed." That word hit me like a slap. "By who?" She bit her lip so hard it turned white. "By someone from our family." I leaned forward slowly. "Amanda. Stop playing games." She looked up, tears pooling in her eyes. "Mom." I blinked. "What?" "She's been pressuring Mark for months," Amanda said quietly. "She found out something about him, about his old business. Remember when his construction company collapsed 2 years ago?" "Yeah," I said carefully. "He said it was because of bad contracts." Amanda shook her head. "It wasn't. He was investigated for tax fraud. He managed to avoid charges, but Mom somehow found out. She told him if he didn't help her financially, she'd tell everyone, especially Dad." My jaw actually dropped. "You're saying Mom blackmailed your husband for money?" Amanda nodded miserably. "At first, it was little things. He'd pay for her vacations, cover her shopping. But then she demanded $10,000 in cash, said it had to come from the family safe, that Dad would never notice if it disappeared for a few weeks. Mark panicked and took it, planning to put it back once he sold his truck. And then," I said slowly, "when Mom discovered the money was missing, she blamed Ethan." Amanda nodded again, face buried in her hands. "She thought she could redirect suspicion," she whispered. "She didn't expect you to have footage." The silence between us. I didn't say anything for a long time. My heartbeat roared in my ears. I'd been angry before, furious, even. But this? This was betrayal on a new level. I finally said, "So, Mom framed my son to protect herself." Amanda didn't argue. She didn't deny it. She just started sobbing. "I'm so sorry," she said over and over. "I didn't know she'd go that far. I just thought she was mad about money again. I swear I didn't know until after you left." I leaned back, cold and numb. "What do you want me to do with this information?" "I don't know," she whispered. "I just couldn't keep it to myself anymore. Dad doesn't know. He still thinks Mark is just some greedy idiot." I stood up slowly. "And maybe it's better if he keeps thinking that, for now." Amanda looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean I'm done cleaning up Mom's messes," I said. "If she wants to destroy her own family, let her. But she doesn't get to hurt my son again." The fallout. The next morning, I called my dad. He sounded tired, older somehow. "Sweetheart, I wanted to say again how sorry we are about what happened. Ethan is a good boy." "Thanks, Dad," I said softly. "But there's something you should know." I told him everything Amanda had said. At first, he was silent. Then he said, in a voice I barely recognized, "That explains everything." Apparently, he'd noticed weird withdrawals from their accounts over the last year but thought it was some mistake. He hung up abruptly, saying he needed to talk to your mother. By the end of the day, Amanda texted me, she confessed. The confrontation. That evening, my phone rang again, Mom this time. Her voice was trembling. "You talked to your father?" "Yes," I said. "Why would you do that?" she snapped, but there was fear behind it. "Because you accused my child of theft to hide your own lies." For a moment, there was just her breathing on the line. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You've always wanted to ruin me." I laughed bitterly. "You did that yourself." Then I hung up. A strange peace. It's been 3 days since that call. Mom's staying at my aunt's house, and Dad has filed for a legal separation, at least temporarily. He says he needs time to think. Amanda and I have been talking more. She's trying, really trying, to rebuild things. She comes by to help Ethan with his math homework, brings over homemade cookies, and even apologized to him directly. He was hesitant at first, but when she started crying, he hugged her. He's a better person than most adults in this family. Last night, Amanda told me something that stuck with me. "You know, when I saw Mark taking that money in the video, I thought I hated him," she said. "But when Mom admitted what she'd done, I realized. I hated her more. I understood. Completely." The epilogue, for now. Ethan's doing better. He told me he doesn't want to visit Grandma until she stops lying. And honestly, I can't argue with that. I don't know if my family will ever recover from this. Maybe this was the moment that forced every secret out into the open, the one thing we all needed, even if it hurt like hell. Sometimes the truth doesn't just set you free. It burns every bridge behind you so you can't go back. And maybe, that's a good thing. It's been almost a month since the day my family fell apart, since my mother accused my son of stealing $10,000, since I dropped that flash drive on the table, and since my father found out who his wife really was. You'd think things would calm down after that kind of chaos. But in my family, peace is just the silence before another explosion. The attempt to make amends. It started with a knock on my door. This time, it wasn't Amanda, it was Mom. I hadn't seen her since the phone call where she told me I'd ruined her life. When I opened the door, I barely recognized her. She looked smaller somehow. Her perfect hair was unstyled, and she was holding a small photo frame, a picture of me, Amanda, and Dad from years ago. "I just want to talk," she said quietly. I hesitated. But Ethan was at school, and honestly, part of me wanted closure. So I let her in. She sat at the kitchen table, eyes on her hands. "I know what I did was unforgivable," she said finally. I can't take back what I said to Ethan. But I want to make it right. I didn't reply. I just waited. I spoke to your father, she continued. He's not doing well. He says he's thinking of selling the house. I don't want that. I want our family back. That last sentence hit something deep, not because I believed it, but because it sounded rehearsed. I asked, do you want forgiveness, or do you want control again? Her eyes flickered, and for a split second, I saw the same woman who screamed across that dining table. But she quickly looked down again. Both, she whispered. The discovery. Later that week, Dad called me. His voice was quiet but steady. I reopened the safe, he said. I froze. The same one? Yes. I wanted to change the combination, start fresh. But when I emptied it, I found something odd. He paused. I think you should see it. I drove over that evening, expecting maybe leftover receipts or documents. What I didn't expect was a sealed envelope marked with my name. Dad handed it to me. Your mother must have put it there years ago. My stomach tightened as I opened it. Inside were several folded papers, one of them a will. But it wasn't the one my parents had signed recently. It was dated 10 years ago. And according to this version, everything, the house, the savings, the land my grandparents left behind, was supposed to go to Amanda. My name wasn't mentioned anywhere. The confrontation. When I looked up, my dad was staring at me. Do you remember her ever telling you about this? I shook my head slowly. No. I didn't even know they had a will until last year. Dad sighed, sitting heavily in his chair. I checked the signatures. Mine's real, but I don't remember signing this version. The lawyer never had a copy. That's when it hit me. Dad, what if Mom forged this? He rubbed his face, exhausted. That's what I'm afraid of. The truth unfolds. We decided to confront her together. She was still staying with my aunt, so we met her at her apartment 2 days later. When we showed her the will, she went pale. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, I was going to change it. Change it? Dad repeated. You forged my signature. Her voice cracked. You don't understand. Amanda needed stability. You've always favored her. I stared at her in disbelief. You mean me, Mom? You favored Amanda. But she shook her head violently. You moved out. You didn't visit. You didn't call. I thought you didn't care. Amanda was here, she helped me, she stayed close. Dad's voice rose, trembling. So you decided to disinherit your other daughter and lie about it? She started crying. I thought I was doing the right thing. Amanda was married, she had a family. I thought she needed security more than me. I finished quietly. She didn't answer. The breaking point. Dad stood up and said, I'm calling the lawyer. We're fixing this immediately. Mom reached for him, but he stepped back. Don't, he said coldly. You've lied enough for a lifetime. After he left, I sat there with her. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Then she said softly, You'll never forgive me, will you? I looked at her. I want to. But every time I think about it, I remember Ethan's face that day, the way he looked at all of you when you called him a thief. That's not something you fix with an apology. Her tears spilled silently. I wish I could undo it. I sighed. So do I. But maybe the best thing you can do now is let us live without the lies. The aftermath. The lawyer confirmed what we suspected, the will was never filed officially, and Mom had indeed used Dad's old signature from previous documents. It wasn't legally binding, but it showed just how far she'd gone to manipulate everything. Dad changed all his legal papers and removed her as co-executor. Amanda and I were listed equally this time. When I told Amanda, she cried again. But this time from relief. She almost ruined both of us, she said. I know, I said quietly. But at least now we can stop pretending this family was ever perfect. A different kind of ending. A week later, Mom sent me a letter. Not a text, not a voicemail, a handwritten letter. She wrote that she was going to therapy. That she realized her entire life had been about control, controlling money, image, and people, because she was terrified of losing relevance as she got older. It was the first honest thing I'd read from her in years. I didn't reply, but I kept the letter. Maybe someday, when Ethan's older, I'll show it to him. For now, I'm just trying to rebuild. Amanda visits every weekend. Dad and I talk more than we have in a decade. Ethan's laughing again. And the house that once held secrets now holds something else, peace. Final reflection. Families like mine don't break all at once. They crack slowly, under the weight of pride, favoritism, and unspoken resentment, until one life finally brings everything down. That $10,000 was never just money. It was the price of truth. And in the end, it bought us freedom.